Today is November 9th, 2025, and welcome to the 461st episode of the Videogames podcast. Here on the show, I talk about any game at all, including new stuff, old stuff, and anything in between. My name is Brad Galloway. I am the one-man host of the show, and I'm also the editor of GameCritics.com, a website that uses the full range of review scores from 0 to 10, while also offering full accessibility information on every review that we publish. Hello! Thank you for joining me today, this lovely Sunday, or at least it's lovely Sunday for me here right now. Don't know when you're listening to the show, but hey, trust me, it was a pretty nice Sunday. As usual, going to kick things off with housekeeping, where I discuss tidbits, news items, industry happenings, anything randomly game adjacent that's caught my eye in the last 7 days. And actually, that's a lie, because as I was going over the housekeeping list, I didn't really see anything that leapt out to me, but there's a lot of other stuff going on. And I know that this podcast is generally a safe space for people who want to retreat from the world a little bit. I like to offer comfort, a welcoming voice, someone who's glad to see you come back, a nice place to take refuge from all the ills of the world. But sometimes we do have to address the things that are outside the door. And this week I've got two things that are semi-political in nature. So if you are in a place where you can't handle that right now, or you just don't want to hear it, or maybe you're just not in the right zone, go ahead and just jump ahead a few minutes and we'll get into the games in just 1 second. But for the moment, I do have a couple of things to say about what's going on here in the United States. So first, I guess let's start with, bad news, I guess. So I don't know if you're in the States, you probably know this already. If you're not in the United States, maybe you don't know, but we have a food assistance program here in the United States called SNAP. I think it's like supplementary nutrition and something. I don't know what it stands for. But basically it's like a food stamps program. So for people who do not have enough money to pay for food, they get some stipend from the government, which helps them make ends meet. That's part of a larger discussion about why we even need this in the first place. Since we are basically the richest country on earth, it doesn't make sense that we have anybody in this country who needs food assistance in any way. That's a whole other podcast, which we can get into at some other time. But just know that SNAP exists. It's basically a food stamp program. And it's been cut by the Republicans, who are currently instituting a fascist far-right regime, breaking all sorts of laws, throwing our Constitution out the window, and basically running unchecked at the moment, kind of bringing our country to a crashing demise. But basically, SNAP is cut. And so there's a lot of states, individual states, who are trying to fight that. There are a lot of states who are suing the Trump administration in order to get SNAP rolling again. It seemed like there was going to be a partial relenting and some of the money was going to come, but then Trump went to the Supreme Court and said he didn't want to let any money go out. And it's just a big fucking mess right now. But basically the bottom line is that people are going hungry. Benefits got cut off about 9 days ago. And so there's millions of people here in America who really depend on those. Many children, many single families, I'm sure single moms out there, lots of people who really need this support. And so until this situation gets resolved, and I have no idea which way it's going to go or what's going to happen, those people are still hungry. So I guess my number one thing to mention on this podcast is let's put games aside for just like a second. And if you have any money that you can spare, any donations you can make, if you are in an area where there are SNAP people, and if you live in the United States, I guarantee you live near somebody who uses SNAP, maybe you can go down to your local food bank and see what they need. If you can do anything to help support the people who are literally going hungry in America right now, that would be probably the best thing that I could ask of you. And in fact, I'm going to skip all of the Patreon talk this week. If you were thinking about supporting this podcast, I'm grateful for that, but those people need it a lot more than I do. So if you have not subscribed yet to Patreon and you're thinking about it, or maybe you do already and you got a couple extra bucks or anything, my ask this week is that if you can donate to a local food bank, a local food charity, a social support service in your area, please do that, because these people desperately need help. I live actually just a couple blocks from a food bank, which is a very heavily trafficked food bank. We're going to be donating some food down there. We're also making a cash donation. So please, if you can, I understand if you can't. A lot of people are having trouble right now. I totally get that. Don't feel bad whatsoever. But if you can, please consider donating food, donating money, donating anything to your local food banks. I guarantee you probably know somebody who needs food assistance and maybe you don't know it. And even if you don't know anybody, which is pretty unlikely, you probably live within a stone's throw of people who are using those food benefits, and they are starving right now. So please go down and do whatever you can. I would greatly appreciate it. Okay, so that was kind of The sad one, the good thing is that if you follow American politics, you might have seen that in the recent midterm elections, basically a blue Democratic wave kind of swept the country, which was incredibly heartening. Good to see. I'm not going to go through every race, but basically, by and large, every state that had a race for a representative or an appointee or anything like that, as far as I know, basically every Democrat won their race, because I think the entire country is getting really sick of the Trump regime and the way that it's just running our country into the ground, starving people, as I just said, destroying systems, destroying safeguards, throwing laws out the window. It's basically a lot of criminals in the White House right now. And not just the typical, oh yeah, those politicians are crooks. I mean, it goes way beyond that. These are Nazis. These are fascists. These are people who are truly dangerous to the entire world. And I was really grateful to see so many people coming out. A lot of young people, a lot of people of color, a lot of women coming out and standing up for their rights, which is great. Support you 100%. The LGBTQ people support you 100%. So I'm glad to see them all come out, and we just need to keep going. Not to get all tinfoil hat, but there's been a lot of talk about the Republicans being very scared at seeing how strong the left came out, and there may be talk of some vote tampering coming up in the next election. So we'll see. Hopefully that won't be a thing. Hopefully we can get around that. Hopefully we can do something to let the people truly speak. And this midterm really showed that Trump's disgusting fascist regime is not who America is. I mean, yeah, there's people here. There's a segment of people who are racist, who are disgusting human beings. But that is by far the majority. The most people here in America are good, hardworking citizens who just love their country, love their fellow neighbor, and want to do something good. And this midterm election proved it. So very heartened, very happy to see so much blue. We got to keep that going. And yeah, America's got problems. We got loads of problems. But Trump is not the answer to those. We need to get some new people in and fix things. I believe that America can be saved. We can turn things around. It can get better. So keep up the good fight. Keep having hope. And please feed people who are hungry near you. And that's what I'm going to talk about for housekeeping this week. There we go. Gonna move on now. In other news, I am sipping a cup of very hot pho broth, Vietnamese soup broth. And I am clumsy right now. And I just spilled it all over my chest. I've got a giant burn mark on my chest from where I spilled hot soup on myself. I don't know that you needed that peek behind the curtain, but there we are. I'm currently reeling from the pain of scalding my chest. I need to put a Band-Aid on my titties right now because I am hurting. Okay. Okay, let's get back to what I was going to talk about. Oh yeah, stuff we published this week. Yes, I am the editor of GameCritics.com. I like to shine a little spotlight on things you might have missed if you haven't popped over lately. I would like to invite you to do so if you haven't. And you might see this week that we published the last installment. What is today? 461. So it was 460 last week of the podcast. We published Little Rocket Lab. We published Lego Voyagers, sharing a rocket theme, incidentally. We published EA FC 26, which I believe is soccer. A couple other things as well. So we got a bunch of reviews going up every week. Please come over to GameCritics.com, check it out. And like I said, we do have full accessibility on all of those. If you need colorblind info, control remapping info, if you need subtitle info, we've got all that stuff, as well as a parent guide for each game as well. All right, let's go on. We have a question this week. And this question comes to us from Mike. I'll just read it verbatim here. What's up, Mike? He says, "Hey, Brad, I've spoken with you briefly on the Two Guys, Three Consoles Discord previously. Yes, I remember. And I am a listener of your podcast. Thank you very much. You always mention that you rate games on accessibility, but in the latest episode during the Escape from Duckov section, that was last episode 460, you spoke a little more passionately about the subject. I'm curious if you have ever published anything about why this is important to you and what your lists of must and must not in a game are. I'm curious as I'm in the very early planning stages of developing my first game. From the start, I've wanted this to be accessible, and I have some ideas around control schemes and difficulty options. Thank you for doing your podcast. I really enjoy it. Feel free to use this as a point of discussion on your podcast if you would like to take it as your question." And I did, and I will, and I am. Thank you very much, Mike. I appreciate this question. This is a good one. Okay, so I guess just let me start with a little bit of, I don't know, why does it matter to me personally? Well, I've worked in the disability field for 30 years. I am, I don't know if you know or not, but I am a professional, nationally certified American Sign Language interpreter, and I have been a freelance interpreter for almost the entirety of my 30 years. I've done all sorts of stuff, all sorts of jobs. I've been on TV, I've been on radio, I've been on other people's podcasts, I've been in stage and theater, I've been on all sorts of videos on YouTube, on the internet. I've worked with Xbox. I've worked with Sony. I have worked with various other agencies, individual studios, all sorts of stuff like that. But apart from that, I have done just a lot of general work. I work with people who are deaf, people who are hard of hearing, and I do work with people who are deaf-blind. That is, they are both blind and deaf. So I do know tactile sign language, and I've just been doing this like forever. So that's the start of why this is really important to me, because it's like my life. My wife is also a sign language interpreter of 30 years. So we're both in the same field. We worked together for most of our careers where we were partners. And people think that we're crazy that we were working together and then we got married and we lived together and that's too much of one partner. And I say it's not enough. I love my wife. She's my best friend. She is my favorite person on earth, and I just cannot get enough of her. So we combine work and life. And for me in my career, I've just worked in accessibility the whole time, and I just cannot separate that from the other things that I do. And the other biggest thing that I do is video games. I've been reviewing video games for 26 years or so, give or take, and I've been editor of GameCritics.com for the majority of that time. And so, you know, I have friends who are deaf and who play video games as well, especially now more and more these days than there were in the past. And they have accessibility needs, and it's really difficult to ignore when you have a friend who's deaf and is like, yo, what's this game like? And I go, oh yeah, it's pretty cool, but you can't play it because there's no subtitles. Or they'll come to me and be like, yo, Brad, what the fuck with this game? I bought this game and I can't get my money back and I can't understand what they're saying in the cutscenes. Or I can't pass this puzzle because it's a freaking music puzzle. And I go, oh, dude, I know. Like, I feel so bad. So I started doing this stuff at Game Critics initially because we care about people. I mean, you probably can tell from the opening political stuff I talked about. I care about people. I think people are great. I want to support them. Humans are wonderful when we do the right thing and when we are pointed in the right direction. And I feel like me speaking up for accessibility, even though I am not disabled, I can hear just fine. I can see just fine. I have no motor problems. I'm basically healthy. So, you know, I am not a person who benefits from accessibility in that way. But I think that we should stand up for that stuff. We should make sure that, you know, something that we love. We all love gaming. Of course you love gaming. Otherwise, why would you even be listening to this podcast, right? So everybody who listens to this podcast loves gaming, and I want other people to love that too. I don't feel like people should get locked out of this amazing thing that we all enjoy just because they can't hear or they can't see or they have motor issues or whatever, cognitive issues, anything like that. So in most cases, I feel like developers can open up their work to other people if they know about it, if they think about it. Now, this is not like to guilt anybody. This is not to make anybody feel bad. And I know that a lot of people are like, oh, you know, maybe I've never met a deaf person. Maybe I've never met a blind person. Maybe I've never met anybody with cognitive or motor issues. And so it didn't even occur to me to add accessibility. I get it. That's a thing that happens. I meet people all the time who have never met a deaf person in their life. I meet people all the time who have never met an interpreter in their life. I get it. It's totally fine. But once you know, I feel like if you're a good person, you should probably make some kind of effort to like open up your work. If you think about these things from the initial planning stages, it's a lot better because then you can budget for it, you can scope for it, you can think about it, and you can find ways that make your wonderful artistic vision accessible to other people. We are not gating anybody out because of physical disabilities that they can't do anything about. And so I think that is a very worthwhile cause. I want people to share in this thing that I love. I want to share that with other folks. And sometimes we have to make accommodations to do that, which I'm happy to do. I've spent my life being the person who performs accommodations for others, and I'm proud of that, and I'm happy about that. I feel like it's really been a good thing for me, and I've seen my work directly benefit a lifetime's worth of people, and I feel like there's more work to do, and so I want to share that with others. So that's why I talk about it so much here in the podcast. That's why I talk about it at Game Critics. It's why we do all the extra work that we do for each review. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass sometimes. Yeah, it's annoying sometimes. Sure, you got to take a couple extra screenshots, or, oh, I forgot to check the menu and I deleted the game already. Got to download the game again and check the menu, and I got to, you know, do this and that and the other thing. I mean, yeah, it's a couple extra steps, but you know what? It's worth it. It's really worth it. And if I can do a little tiny bit of extra work on my part to make someone's life better, then I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that every single time. And I've done a lifetime of that. So I really feel like I walk my talk. So talking about, what about, your ideas around control schemes and difficulty options, and if I have do's and don'ts and stuff like that. Okay. So this is like a pretty big thing. It's hard to kind of just like talk about all-encompassing issues that could be related to this in the space of a podcast. That's a whole other series of podcasts on its own. And Mike, I'm very glad you asked this. I'm super grateful, buddy. So if you want to talk more in the Discord, you know where to find me. I'm happy to talk about individual things. And in fact, I do consulting for some people sometimes. I'm in the middle of a big project right now with a pretty major publisher to talk about accessibility. So I'm happy to do this. There's also many other people in the disability sphere who have disabilities who can talk to you about this, who would love to talk to you about this. So I can direct you towards some of those people. But in general, I would just say, think about it now. And I think you are thinking about it now, which is why you asked the question, which is perfect. Before you get your game off the ground, think about what you can do to open your game up to other people. And that does not mean sacrificing your vision. That does not mean making a game that you don't want to make. It does not mean, catering to 1,000 different people and then you just get lost in the process. Not at all. Like you think about what you want to make, and then you think about, how can I change this? Can I add a pause where there wasn't a pause? Can I change button mashing for a QTE into a hold? Is there a music puzzle? Can I add shapes to that? Can I add a visual cue to that? If there's a stealth section, instead of relying solely on the sound of enemy footsteps, can I add a footsteps icon? Can I do directionality? Kind of like in Fortnite, where there's gunshots going off all over the place, but if you turn on the deaf and hard of hearing visualizer, you can see where those gunshots are coming from. Make sure that you have subtitles. If anybody's talking, if there's any kind of auditory information that is important, add subtitles, add some subtitle variety, make sure that they're legible. That's the number one thing I see is some people put in subs, and that's great, and I applaud you. But they're so small, or they sometimes don't say who's speaking, or they're sometimes inappropriate in the way that they are put out. So there's like a million things that you could do, just real small things, and they're much cheaper and much easier to do at the beginning before you start developing than it is to add them late in the game. That's probably where I meet the most resistance from people, is where they've already got their game like basically almost done, and then they're like, okay, well, what about XYZ? And then when people say, well, you forgot subs, you forgot audio descriptions, you didn't have any visual cues, you don't have control remapping, and they're like, well, it's too late now, it's too expensive, I can't do it now. You could have done it before. So I get that some people don't know about this, but I feel like a lot of people know about this right now. And if I can just be a hard ass for a second, I just don't accept people saying, well, this is too expensive, it's too much work, we're a small team, we're an indie team, I can't afford this. You can do things. There are tools out there. Sometimes it's just simple design choices. Sometimes it's just, having one freelancer come on for like one day to do something. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff you can do that make it possible. You just have to want to do it. And if indies don't have an excuse, and I don't think they do, even single person development teams can do something for accessibility. I've seen it myself. I've talked to these people myself. And if they don't have an excuse, then bigger publishers certainly don't have an excuse. People who've got big budgets, we're talking millions of dollars, you absolutely can hire people to come in and like vet the accessibility and do that. So I know I talked a lot on this. Hopefully that answers your question. If you want to talk details, I would love to talk to you more about this in the Discord, but that's where I'm coming from. A lifetime of service, and I was happy to be of service, and I really want that to continue in video gaming, which is something that I love, and I feel like it can be done because technology is great like that. So that's why I care. That's why I do it. And I hope other people listening to this will take that to heart. And let's just all play video games. Let's just all get into a game that we enjoy, whether it takes subtitles or a special controller or a special setting in a menu, whatever it is, let's do that. And then everybody can just get on games and just love this wonderful medium together. All right. Was going to talk about the Patreon stuff, but I'm skipping that because I would really love it if you would donate to your local food bank or food assistance charity. Gotta skip that. YouTube is still a thing. It's youtube.com/@gamecritics.com videos. Please check that out for hand curated stuff. And let's see, do we have any circle backs this week? We don't have any circle backs. In case you're new to the show, this is the segment where I talk about stuff that I've played in the past and I kind of update where I'm at with those games. Don't really have anything to talk about right now, but I do have a whole absolute boatload of stuff to talk about in the new game section, which we are going to kick off right now. Okay, first up is Battle Suit Aces. Shout out to John from over at Gaming in the Wild. Check out his show. Check out his Discord. Great community of wonderful folks and a wonderful podcast. One of my favorite listens every week. What's up, John? John brought this to my attention, and a couple other folks in his Discord are playing it, and so I wanted to check it out. It is a 2D deck building adventure sci-fi game with a mech suit versus aliens theme. All of those things are on my radar for sure. And on top of that, this comes from the people who made Battle Chef Brigade, which was a fucking amazing game. I loved Battle Chef so much. If you have not played Battle Chef Brigade, stop what you're doing. I'll wait. Go buy it and download it and play it in its entirety right now. Please go and roll credits and then come back. Battle Chef Brigade is the shit. I love it so much. And so I'm like, okay, cool. This is from the same people. Bought it full price, wanted to support the studio because I think they do good work over there. And man, I got just side note, I have bought more games this year than I think I have in the last 5 or 10 years. And it's not okay. It's not okay. I don't like it. Doesn't make me feel good. I bought so many fucking games this year. Okay. I'm a critic. I'm supposed to get games for free. That's part of the deal, but I did not get this one for free. Anyway, I know, whining. Stop it. Okay, so Battlesuit Aces, you are a person/team of people who are on a ship, and you can see the ship from like an ant farm view, like a side view cutaway. It's got various departments in your ship, various units that you can do different things. And then there is a storyline about discovering a mech suit that is left from a previous, or I guess an older extinct alien race that is, I guess, must be kind of similar to humans because you can pilot the mech suit. And then you assemble a team of mech suit pilots to go and fight these aliens that are like, I don't know, devouring energy throughout the galaxy, something like that. Basically, it plays out like there is a story, you do some little talking, and then you fool around on the ship. Like you can change some of the attributes of your cards. You can like create equipment and put the equipment on your cards to give them bonus features. You can give some stuff to your ship to give it bonus features. But then the meat of the game is the gameplay, where you go to a, looks like just like a field, like a tabletop kind of card playing field. Friendly cards at the bottom, enemy cards at the top, and every turn you get to pull out a card and place it on the field. I think you have like 5 slots altogether, 5 on the bottom, 5 on the top. I think that sounds about right. And then you get a certain number of energy points per turn. So you lay out your cards. You've got mech suit cards. You've got drone cards that are just like little throwaway dudes. There are some other cards that represent the ability of your ship that you unlock a little bit later. And then the enemies will be of various types. They're like different goopy alien monsters, and they have different things. Some of them have shields. Some of them multiply. Some of them will give status effects, so forth and so on. And then you just play it out turn by turn, and it's pretty much like a card-based game. There's lots of these out there, and so this one doesn't particularly like reinvent any of these systems, although I think it does the systems really well. So okay, so I feel kind of mixed on this game. So I think in the one hand, I do like the UI is pretty clear for the most part. Now that's separate from the text on cards, and that's separate from some of the other like little icons and stuff. So like just like the way the menus are laid out, the way the ship is laid out, the way that the field of combat is laid out, I think that is all really nice and clean and straightforward. So I appreciate that. I will say though, some of the text, and I'm playing on a Switch or OG Switch, some of the text can be a little bit small, and some of the cards have a lot of status effects that are not super easy to parse out. Sometimes you get the info, sometimes you don't, and I would like a little bit more information on some of these. So I think visually, in terms of lettering and stuff, it can be a little small. The other thing that I don't like about the presentation, which is separate from the UI, is just like the art style. I think the people that are on the ship are pretty boring. They look pretty boring, and I think that the discussions with them are pretty boring. I find that they just kind of talk about sci-fi stuff like blather, and there's not a lot of like personality quirks or traits that I've seen so far. And I'm not really interested in hearing them talk because it doesn't really add much to the discussion for me, which was pretty different from Battle Chef Brigade. I remember a lot of strong personalities in that, a lot of funny jokes, and it was easy to relate to the chef in that one, and like it really connected on a story level for me quite a bit. I was very excited about seeing that one through, and I did. I just don't care about the story, and I don't care about the characters in Battlesuit Aces. But even more important than that is when Brad TM comes into play here, because I can be a snob about visual presentation when it comes to style and aesthetics, and I just don't like the aesthetics here in terms of how the cards are presented. It's really boring because, now bear with me, you're looking at these cards and they are in the shape of a card, but it has a small rendering of a mech suit on it, and then like the little picture of the pilot who's in it. And it's just really boring. Like there's no animation on the cards. There's no cool mech suit finisher. There's no robot flying in from off screen to take its place on the screen. It's just flat and dull. And I think on the Switch anyway, the cards are pretty small, and so it's really hard to appreciate the art. You can get a good... I mean, all the mechs kind of vaguely look the same when they're about a quarter of an inch tall, and all the people kind of vaguely look the same. So that's, I think from a presentation standpoint, I think it is very visually boring to look at. I really wish that the mech suits were just flashier, or they were featured in a different way rather than being cards. Maybe show the suit itself, or maybe like have a cool animation for when you activate the cards or something. Like it's just, yeah, like a little laser will fire off a card, or like a missile will shoot out or something. But it just looks really flat and dull, and I find myself so bored visually. Like I don't find a lot to sink my aesthetic teeth into, and so I just kind of like, ugh. Like I like the simplicity of it. There's many other games that are similar to this formula with the card battling. I feel like this one does it the best so far. I feel like the systems are for the most part very simple, straightforward, and easy to understand. You can tinker with your cards in an easy to understand way, and it's all connected, and I think that's good work. But I just feel like this game is just missing spark. It's missing the juice. Like I just don't connect with it emotionally. I don't connect with it on a narrative level. And even on a visual style level, I think it's really dull. So I've put a good number of hours into it, but I just feel like I'm kind of just running out of gas. It just doesn't keep my attention. I wish it was flashier. I wish it was more interesting in terms of writing and the visual action, but it's just not. So I guess that's it. I guess that's the end of the road for me. I enjoyed my time with it, but it's not something that I'm going to probably roll credits on, which is a bummer. Because I think this studio is really talented, and I do want to give another shout out to Battle Chef Brigade. That game's outstanding. I think that checks all the boxes. Cool systems, fun characters, interesting visuals, a good mix of action and puzzling. Like it was kind of the total package. So Battle Chef Brigade is the shit. Battlesuit Aces, I feel like it's good, it's solid, but I'm kind of being a picky bitch right now, and I just don't want to put any more time into it. Just didn't connect with me. But I think it's a good product, and I bet a lot of people out there will probably like it if you really like these kind of card battling systems, or if you're just like a really hardcore mech person, I guess. So that's it. It was a good recommend, but not going to stay the distance with me. That is Battlesuit Aces. I think it's on everything. I'm playing it on regular Switch. Next up is Dark Quest 4. This is a small, unassuming game that honestly, I mean, real talk, you probably wouldn't even look at it twice if you're scrolling through one of the online stores. There's just nothing about it that really grabs your attention. But I will say this is actually quite a good game that I am enjoying very much. And this Dark Quest series is, I think, very unknown and really underappreciated. Now, you have to kind of know the board game Hero Quest. It came out in the 80s. And it was like a simpler version of Dungeons and Dragons. It came with a bunch of miniatures. It came with some pre-made maps. It came with a very simple Dungeon Master system that anybody could follow along. And Hero Quest which I just had the best time with it back in the day. I really loved it. I know it's got a big following. I think it was bigger in the UK than it was here in America, but a lot of people out there still love Hero Quest, the game. And in fact, it's been revived by, I want to say it's Hasbro, I think. So you can buy a remixed Hero Quest, updated, new miniatures, new game systems, cleaned up. There's been a bunch of expansions for it. I think they're putting out a small version, like a quick version, in case you don't want the full meal deal. That's coming out soon. So Hero Quest is still very much alive if you are in those circles. And I think Hero Quest is great. I really like it a lot. So Dark Quest, I believe, has even been named or said by the developers to be an homage to Hero Quest. Of course, they didn't have the license to it, but they obviously are fans of Hero Quest. It feels very much like what an electronic version of Hero Quest would be, which is great because Hero Quest is a great game. So in Dark Quest 4, you start off with a village, and these are all kind of like very gamified systems. Like all of these systems I think would work in a board game. You have a couple of heroes at the beginning, you got like an archer, a barbarian, a magician. They each have a couple of abilities, pretty simple and straightforward. They've got a very rudimentary like upgrade system. And then you go into a dungeon. It's a isometric 3/4 view, tile-based, turn-based. And then you go on these various quests. Like, for example, the first quest will be, I don't know, like rescue the miller from the dungeon. And so you take your team of 3 guys in there. You can only take 3 at a time. And when you can search through the dungeons square by square as much as you like. And then when you hit an enemy, it goes to turn-based. And the game is really great about telling you who's going to go when and in what order. Little numbers will appear above your guys, and you'll know exactly who gets to take their turn first. It's all based on like agility, I think, something like that. And so you just do a movement or an attack each turn. It's very simple and straightforward. You fight, you press on, keep going down the dungeon. You kill like different animals, skulls, skeletons, rats, bats, evil wizards, whatever. Finish your quest. You bounce back to the surface. You unlock some new characters. You unlock some money that you can use to level up the characters you've got. You can buy some new perks, new abilities, and stuff like that. It's very straightforward, but it's also really, really well done. Dark Quest 4 especially, I think, is really good. Dark Quest 1 was great. Dark Quest 2, I think, was pretty good. Dark Quest 3, I think, was kind of a low point for me. I think they kind of changed things up a little bit too much, but Dark Quest 4 feels like it's got the juice again, where if you just want to have a little team of like, D&D, archetypes, barbarian, wizard, female barbarian, thief, archer, whatever, and you just want to do some very straightforward dungeon crawling, fighting monsters. But there's also like a sense of humor. Like the second quest, I think, is a necromancer that revives a flock of chickens, and he straps a bomb to each one of the chickens. Pretty funny. It's pretty weird and different, and so they have some variety in there. And I think it's just a really, really well done small aperitif of a game that it dots all the I's and it crosses all the T's. I'm having a blast with it. I'm playing a couple dungeons a day. I think it's just really, really good. It feels like they know what they're going to do. They do it well. They execute perfectly. It's humble. I mean, there's not like loads of bells and whistles, and it's not like a AAA game by any means. But I think there is something to be said for people who know what they want to make, and they make exactly that thing, and it turns out to be a good time. So I think Dark Quest 4 is great. I'm still playing it. Having a lot of fun with it. I've played all the other Dark Quest games. I think they're all good. So if you like Hero Quest and this has not hit your radar, you absolutely have to play this. Or if you want just a very simple, straightforward, party-based, turn-based dungeon crawling experience with a little bit of sense of humor in it, this is going to fit the bill perfectly. I think Dark Quest 4 is just a great little morsel. I love it. It's really well done. Definitely a thumbs up. All right, next up here is A Pizza Delivery. This is a third-person, I don't know, like abstract narrative, kind of a thinky indie game. I can't say exactly what it's about, but I will say that the trailer really captured my attention. Basically, you play a pizza delivery person, who has a little scooter, and you are going through these really wild, dreamlike environments. If you watch the trailer, like the first few minutes of the game, this is not a spoiler, this is like literally the first 2 minutes of the game. You're in a building. You just appear in a building, an apartment building. You deliver your pizza, and that seems like normal. And when you go to exit the building and you get out, you're in this giant, like endless flowing field of tall grass, blue skies above, and like nothing to be seen except for like a couple of telephone poles. Like you're in this like weird dreamlike state. There's like a phone booth in the middle of nowhere, like sticking up out of the grass. You answer it and have a very bizarre conversation. And then you get on your scooter and you just like start tootling off through the grass to make your next delivery. Right away, you get the sense that this is not a normal game. You don't know what's going to happen. Very dreamlike and weird and esoteric. And I think that's all great and fun and interesting. So you need to go make your next delivery. And before long, you will go to another kind of like abstract location, like this like mountain and a gate in the middle of nowhere. There's water. And then you start hitting some puzzles. And at that point, I think the game slightly goes awry. I was all in. Like I was like, this is crazy. Delivering pizzas in a dream world is pretty interesting. And just kind of like doing this very pedestrian thing in this wild place is it's fascinating. It's interesting. It's kind of challenging mentally. But I will say though that I feel like the puzzles are kind of a problem. They're not like super difficult, but like when you're just getting to know the game, you don't really quite know what's going on. So for example, I got stuck on like the very first puzzle. I guess it's not really a spoiler to say, like when you find objects, you can also rotate them. And I didn't really notice this. And so I did not rotate a specific item, and I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. And I got stuck there for a while, which really took away a lot of the shine from the initial few minutes, which were great. That opening, I think, is really powerful and really strong. And I think anybody would be really captured by that opening of like the pizza delivery and then driving your scooter through a field of grass. Pretty amazing. But I got past that. I had to look up a hint guide to see what I was doing wrong. Figured that out. That was disappointing. Moved on. And then you get to this like dark area where you just like instantly get lost. And the developers have said they want you to explore and to kind of just make your way through the world. And that's fine. But also being lost and not knowing what you're doing is kind of a drag. And I feel like they immediately got to the kind of puzzles which are not additive to this kind of dreamlike experience, this dreamy, weamy experience. I found some locked doors right off the bat, and I had to do some key searching, and I didn't know where the key was, and there's no map. And I got to this really foggy location. It's like the second major location, and it's all dark streets and fog. And I got turned around, and I wasn't sure where to go, and I wasn't sure what I was looking for. And I just ended up just wandering. Like, I just wasn't having a good time. I wasn't like learning anything or doing anything or even like role playing very much. I'm just like, dude, can I just find the freaking key so I can move on to whatever is next? Because this is boring as shit. So I feel like the premise is strong, the visuals are strong, the vibe is strong, but the puzzles don't really work that well. And I feel like they just kind of like stopped me from interfacing with the game in the way that I wanted to. Like, I mean, honestly, I was ready to just like drive this scooter for a little while and just deliver a couple pizzas, have some strange conversations, and just like, you know, see where this goes. I was all on board, but these puzzles just feel like some kind of like weird gameplay thing because we can't have a game that doesn't have a puzzle in it. I mean, I think it could have very much been a kind of indie, weird, like odd thing that maybe forgoes all the puzzles and just gives you the vibe and the experience. So I think the developers maybe misjudged that. It's just, those are roadblocks towards having the fun of what this game promises. And I bounced pretty quickly after that. I got frustrated with just like wandering around trying to look for a key and not being able to progress. It just killed all the good energy I had gotten from that beginning. So kind of a bummer with that one. Not too interested in looking for keys in the fog, but I was interested in delivering pizzas in Dreamtime. So maybe somebody else will not be as bothered as I was by the puzzles, but I felt like it was just like a giant downer. Put a lot of cold water on this particular party. So did not finish. We'll probably not come back to it. That is a pizza delivery. All right, next up is Kentum, Kentum. I've had my eye on this one for quite a while. It looked like it might have the juice, and I was very curious to get my hands on it. This is a 2D, people call it a Craftervania, I think. I mean, that's a new one for me, but it makes sense. You play a person named Kent. He is in a space capsule orbiting Earth, and he's doing some kind of mission. I don't know what he's doing exactly. The tone of the game is pretty funny and lighthearted. It starts off with some good banter between Kent and a robot AI that is on the capsule with him. Good writing, really funny, gets things off in a great way. What happens is Kent is lazy and he does not want to keep working, and so he puts himself into suspended animation. He's supposed to wake up like every 10 days to, I don't know, push a button or something goofy like that. And so he gets tired of this and he fudges with the suspended animation device after the robot tells him not to. And it turns out that he ends up sleeping for like 7,000 years instead of 10 days. So when he wakes up, like bad shit has happened on Earth. Humanity's gone. The planet is a wasteland. Like nothing is left. And so he's freaking out. And he seems to be the only human left. So he's on the planet and he's got to like fix things and just kind of put things to rights, basically. So how this plays out is his capsule crashes down to Earth. He needs to fix the capsule. And you do this by running to the left and the right. It's a 2D plane. And you have a stick and you can bash stuff, bash rocks to get rock resources, kill animals to get fur and meat, bash plants to get seeds and, I don't know, plant bits, whatever. And then you bring those back to your ship. And before too long, you can fix up your suspended animation thing. You have a couple rudimentary, accommodations going here, amenities. And then you also have a cloning machine. Every time you die, you clone yourself again, and then you like have your same memory so you can keep going forward in that way. So that's all pretty good. I will say the game starts off like dynamite as an intro and tutorial aficionado. It's like one of the sore points for me in most games. I think Kentum really gets it right. I think they give you just enough story to kind of set the stage, but not too much because you don't give a shit about it yet. just enough to kind of wet your whistle. The UI is really clean, really easy to understand. They put all the information on the screen that you need. They explain all the elements really clearly, and they tell you what to do. They put your quest up there that you should be working on in case you forget. And everything is just really, really just nicely done. Nice menus, nice UI, nice information on the screen, good pace. You know, like I wasn't sure what to do, but they're like, yeah, just get these rocks first. Okay, I can do that. You bring the rocks back. Okay, now build this one thing, and here's exactly where you go to build it. Okay, cool, I can do that. And then, you know, after a few minutes, you get the vibe of the game. You're like, okay, cool, I feel more comfortable. I get it. I understand the game's language, what they want me to do. And I just chef's kiss, man. Like the intro to Kentum, like the first half hour, perfect. It's exactly how you're supposed to do a tutorial. I think it's great. Just gets you in, gets you interested, gets you acclimated, like all the right things. Like really, really like outstanding job, guys. Really well done. So I was pretty into it at that point. You can run and jump, you can climb walls, and then it's soon revealed that you are in a Metroidvania style world, although kind of a simplified one. There are some big rocks that you have to bash to get through that act as gates, but otherwise there's like a lot of places you can explore. You'll find plants and minerals and animals. You collect those, bring them back to your base, and you build stuff, and that's all fine. And then you're kind of like, you know, jumping up cliffs, and there's no fall damage, which is great. So you're just exploring and kind of like, you know, figuring out your world. And that's all good. That's all good. Really well done. Good start. Soon you discover a mysterious monolith in the distance, and you can go there pretty quickly. And it turns out that not only are you surviving, but you are actually trying to restart like all of humanity. So you've got a lot on your shoulders. You need to like rebuild certain systems. You need to, recreate humans. I haven't gotten that far yet. But instead of just being a personal story of survival, it has been like the entire human race is now on you. It's on your plate to do this, and so you've got a lot to do. So that's all great. I think it looks great. I think the graphic style is simple and straightforward, but colorful, clean lines, good designs. I think it's very readable. Everything on the screen is very easily readable, easy to play, controls fine. I think it's great all the way through. I think it's really great. But then, yes, there is a but. It takes a little bit of a turn, and I think they lost me. So what happens is, in the beginning when things are pretty simple and straightforward, it's all good. But then before too long, the complexity of the game like explodes. When you start getting into the monolith and you find what you have to do for humanity, in addition to the stuff you have to do at your base, you go from having 4 or 5 things to craft to having like 50. And a lot of these things you can see right off the bat are just like incremental upgrades. You've got a whole bunch of trees that you need to unlock, a whole bunch of stuff to collect. And the game becomes less about platforming and surviving and building up your base, and becomes more about just combing the landscape for just like an absolute fuck ton of materials and different types of materials. And then when you get back to your base, they really want you to lean into automation, which kind of was a little bit of a surprise for me. So you have like all these like robot parts that you can unlock. And so you set up like all these production lines of like planting a coffee bean, and then a robot arm harvests it, and then it puts it in this box, and you get a robot arm to take it from the box and put it in the grinder, and then the grinder goes to this other thing, and you make this thing. And there's all these like conveyor belts and like elevators and stuff. And all of a sudden it's like you're building like this giant machine that's producing like 15 different resources in different amounts. And like it all just got really, really like overwhelming, like really overwhelming. I am not someone who is very familiar with like the Factorio, Satisfactory kind of like, yeah, you're here to build a big production machine. Like that's a very specific genre. And I am not familiar with it. That's a PC heavy genre, which is probably why I haven't been into it before. And I just was like, wow, this is like a lot to take in, and it feels extremely overwhelming. And for a while, I was able to just follow whatever the quest is that the game selected for me. I'm like, okay, this is like a lot. I got to focus. I'm feeling super overwhelmed. So I'm going to just focus on whatever the game wants me to do. Going to do the crit path for a while. And there's all this other stuff to upgrade, all this other stuff to unlock and build. And I'm like, holy shit, that's crazy. That's like too much. That's too much. I'm going to focus on this one quest. So I followed the main quest as long as I could, but then you get to a certain point where it just kind of opens up, and it's like you just need to start like crafting and building stuff and setting up machinery for stuff. And it's like, oh dude, this is like a lot. It went from being simple and fun to being really, really complicated and really overwhelming. And at that point, I feel like I needed a little bit more assistance. and I wanted the game to hold my hand a little bit even more because I'm not a veteran of this genre. And that's when they take away all the help. And I'm like, fuck, this is when I need it the most, right? So I got to the part where everything opens up and you have like a billion recipes to make and a billion things to craft, and you need a whole bunch of materials. And I was just like, oh dude, I'm drowning in this. Like I cannot find the surface anymore. So it really overwhelmed me. And I wish that they had kept it small for a while, or small for longer. There's a couple different modes actually, which I think is pretty cool. Where you can either take away the story and just be like let loose in the world, or you can have a more difficult experience. And I appreciate that. And I think that for the story mode, especially because this game is on console, there's going to be other people like me who are not super familiar with this production line type genre. And there's a lot to get through. It's really confusing. And I think there's a lot of things that we just are not familiar with. I would have really appreciated if the story mode was more handholdy for longer, because I just needed to get more of a toehold into just like what is the economy supposed to be, or like what am I focusing on out of this 20 things, which is the one that's the most important. And then I would have liked a little bit more emphasis of the platforming and the action. There's lots of stuff to unlock, but like a lot of it felt like it was like really far away, like a long time to unlock, or I wasn't sure how to unlock it. And so I kind of ended up with the rudimentary combat for the time being. And it felt like it got to hardcore production too soon, and it got away from exploration and platforming too soon. And it just lost me, just really lost me. But I will say, if you are curious about the production genre, or the conveyor belt genre, or whatever they call it, Factorio, Satisfactory, any of those games where you're just making a big machine, like this might be a good one. I feel like it's certainly simplified in a lot of ways. It's simpler than other games I've seen. There are more tutorials. I think the UI is pretty good. I mean, I think that this is maybe a good gateway game for people who are excited about this genre and who are looking forward to getting into it. But for me, I guess I kind of thought the focus would be a little bit different, or that it would be eased into it a little bit more, and it got too deep too soon, and just too overwhelming, man. So I bounced pretty quickly, but I do think there's a lot of good to this. I think the writing's good. It's really funny. I think it's clever. I think the premise is a good one. It just did not click, man. I had to get out with my life. I don't think I could spend any more time in this with all the conveyor belts and robot arms and factory work that needed to be done. It was just like a lot. So I'm out. That is Kentum, but I think it's probably worth a look for anybody who's interested in that genre. All right, next we are looking at Arc Raiders. This one is funny because I hadn't actually heard anything about it until Carlos of this show mentioned it to me, and he was pretty excited about it. And then it was like as soon as he mentioned it, I started seeing other people mention it everywhere. I guess it's doing really well. It's got some momentum and it's got some buzz, but it just hadn't really popped up on my radar really until recently. So basically, it's an extraction shooter. In the most literal sense of the word, you are a person who is in third person. You are in a, post-apocalyptic world where robots have kind of gone crazy and humanity has been relegated to cities underground. You are a raider whose responsibility is to go up to the surface and scavenge for materials and then bring them back down to do, whatever, to keep life going downstairs. Like I said, third person shooter. It looks really nice. The graphics are really nice. Controls are really nice. The premise is solid enough. It's getting just like a lot of buzz right now, and I guess I'm just not exactly sure why. To be fair, I have not put very much time into it. I believe Carlos said he wanted to come on the show next episode if he's available, and he was going to talk at length about this, and I'll probably put some more time into it between now and then as well. But when I started up the game, it's like you put a character together. There weren't a whole lot of character creation options, which was kind of a bummer, but no big deal. I mean, it's not that really important. You have armor on your person anyway, and it's fine. So you just go up to the surface through these elevators, and then you go to a nearby ruin, searching for whatever it is you can find. Sometimes you have specific quests, sometimes just gathering stuff, and you rifle through drawers and boxes and lockers and storage rooms and pick up whatever you can. You have a limited number of slots, so you can't just take anything. You've got to be judicious about what you can take. You have a specific loadout, usually gun and assistive things like heals and shield recharges for your personal shield. A couple other things, I think. And so you kind of run around, dodge the robots. There's lots of drones flying around. There are these really irritating robot mines, which get me every fucking time. They're just teeny tiny and small, and they're there. You can see them, but if you're not specifically looking for them, or you just kind of glance over a room quickly, you might miss them. And then they come screaming at you and explode and take off like a huge chunk of your life, which sucks. Those guys are irritating AF, and they can do one. But you kind of just run around, dodge robots, collect stuff, and then you gotta, when you're full or when time's running out or whatever, you gotta run back to one of the elevators. It seems like in the zone that I saw, there was several scattered around, and then you jump in, push the button. It takes a little bit for the elevator to get there, so there's that tense moment of waiting for extraction to arrive as the elevator rises from below. Usually I'm hiding behind boxes or in a bush or something. Hopefully nothing will happen. Elevator doors open, you go in, go back down the surface, you're fine. You get back to the hub, upgrade your gear, buy some stuff, sell some loot, whatever, talk to the quest givers. It's all pretty straightforward. The big twist, I guess, is that it's PvPvE, where you're fighting the robots, but also there is potential for other people who are in the same zone as you, live people, to shoot you and rob you of your stuff. And that has not happened to me yet, but I will say I'm very afraid of it happening. This reminds me a lot of The Division. They had a mode in The Division. Once you beat the campaign, I think you had to beat the campaign. You went into an area called the Dark Zone. And that part was PvPvE, whereas in the main campaign of The Division, it was just PvE. There were no real people in the campaign. So you got to the Dark Zone, and that was a pretty miserable experience. At that time, I was playing The Division pretty heavily in a full team. It was me, my wife, and former co-host of the show, Corey Motley. What's up, Corey? We were a 3-man squad. That was the max level of squad, and we went into it. And we were very experienced, good players, but the Dark Zone was just really bullshit. There were some people who had gotten some glitches, and so they were like effectively invincible. There were lots of people who were just really aggressive players. A lot of people who seemed like they spent most of their life being in that zone, torturing other people. And it was just a really bad experience. Kind of brought out the worst in humanity. And so I was a little bit afraid of that happening here as well. I just don't like playing with other people in an adversarial way that way. I have enough adversity in my life right now, and I say that as someone who is benefiting from like a lot of privilege, and I'm aware of that. But I don't need any more adversity, and I certainly don't want it in my games. So, like I said, I have not been attacked by anybody in Arc Raiders, but I am very nervous about it happening. And the few runs I've done, I've been like super paranoid. Like you'll hear a gunshot in the distance, or you'll hear some kind of sound or somebody fighting, and I'm like, oh, okay, Jesus, I got to go the other way. I want to avoid that. So I have not interacted with any solo players. I have not grouped up. They definitely want you to group up. There's options for easy multiplayer, but I haven't done that. My wife is not playing this, and Carlos and I are on pretty different schedules. So I have not had a chance to play any of that with him. And scheduling multiplayer in general is pretty tough. I'm pretty busy these days. Schedules for people to get him to line up, it's just like madness. So probably going to be just a solo effort for the time being. And we'll see how it goes. It seems fine. Like it's slick. It looks good. It controls good. But it hasn't got its hooks into me yet. And I guess I got to just be honest. I just don't understand why people seem to be going so gaga over it. I mean, it looks fine, but I don't notice it doing anything particularly notable. Anything that really grabs me as a good hook. Maybe I just haven't played far enough. Again, like I said, I've only played a couple runs. I'm pretty just scratching the surface of it. But we'll see. It seems to be really catching on with people. A lot of people seem to be into it. And I guess we'll come back to it. This will definitely be a circle back in the future. I will play it some more this week, and we'll just see how it goes. But for right now, it seems fine. I guess I'm just a little bit puzzled as to why people like it so much, but I'll keep trying. And I'll report back. And if you like it, if you're playing Arc Raiders and you think I'm missing the special sauce here, drop me a line. Please let me know what I'm not seeing. Like email me or hit me up in the Discord or social media, whatever. Would love to get y'all's opinion on this. It just seems like it's just fine. I guess I'm just not getting it. I don't know. Next up is Dying Light the Beast. The people over at Techland were very nice, and they reached out to the podcast directly which is really nice. They were very eager to have us take a look at the game, which I was happy to do. I am a huge fan of the first Dying Light. I thought that was just a fantastic game. Really, really enjoyed it a lot. I still have many fond memories of playing that game. So Dying Light, the first one, I thought was just a blast. I had a really, really wonderful time. And in fact, I believe I played a lot of it co-op with my wife, which was great. I love playing with my wife. She is the best. And playing with her is even better. So again, just full disclosure, I have not had time to really fully put this game through its paces. This is not a review. This is just my first look. And this is another one that I will certainly circle back to probably next week. I just need to put more time into it. And time has been very short these days. It is, Q4 madness. I'm getting crazy amount of game pitches, crazy amount of codes to get through, as I'll talk about in just a second. So my great thanks to the Dying Light team, and just let y'all know I'm doing my best to get to this. I will play it more this week, and I will have a more in-depth look next week. So this is just a quick mention for now. I wanted to get it on the show just so people know about it. So I didn't play Dying Light 2. I love number 1. Number 1 was awesome. Didn't care for the DLC, but I love the main game. Fantastic stuff. Then Dying Light 2 came out, and I just didn't play. In fact, I think I bought it. I'm pretty sure I bought it because I was a huge fan of number 1. And then I just, for whatever reason, just didn't get to it. I never even started it. I think I was just so busy the year it came out. I just was like, oh, I bought it, and so I'm not on the hook for reviews, and I don't need to cover it in the podcast. So it just kind of slipped through the cracks. I didn't even play it at all. And I guess it was a mixed reception because it focused more on, I believe, other humans rather than zombies. If I remember correctly, you were trying to rebuild a civilization or something. And I don't know. I didn't hear all that much about it. I didn't get to it. I plan to come back to it at some point, but we'll see. So this is the next one, Dying Light the Beast. And this one was a little bit of a surprise because, as I said, I completely missed out on Dying Light 2, and I wasn't sure what was going to happen here. But when you start the game, there is an option that says, what's been up to this point, or what's been happening in Dying Light. And I'm like, okay, cool. I love me a little recap, and it's been a while since I played this, so let's start it up. And I was very surprised to find that the Beast starts basically right up after Dying Light number 1. As far as I can tell, they completely skip the continuity of Dying Light 2. And so it was like, oh, I guess I'm coming back at exactly the right time. The main protagonist of the first Dying Light, Kyle Crane, is the protagonist of Dying Light the Beast. And I'm like, oh, okay. My last memories of Dying Light were with Kyle, and Kyle is back, and that makes perfect sense. And I don't think this is a spoiler because this is literally the first 2 minutes of the game. But basically, they kind of explain that Kyle went through the events of the first game, went through the events of the DLC, and then he got captured by scientists, and he's been held in a torturous research facility for I believe it was 13 years. And now he escapes and he's back. And so that's where you start up. And I'm like, oh, it's like I didn't miss anything at all. I feel like I'm exactly back where I thought I would be, and here it is. So Kyle escapes from the facility. Of course, that's not a spoiler. It wouldn't be much of a game if he didn't escape. And during that time, he's been experimented on a lot. They give you several pretty gruesome and intense torture sequences to show what Kyle's been through, so you feel for him. And something has been done. In case you missed out on the first Dying Light, Kyle was a soldier. He goes to the city to help out the survivors of the zombie apocalypse. He gets bitten almost immediately, and a lot of Dying Light is him holding back the zombie virus, having to inject himself with medication to keep him human and that whole thing. So that was a big part of Dying Light 1. In this one, in The Beast, he is recognized as one of the few people who has some kind of resistance to the zombie virus. That's what enables him to stave it off, even with the help of medication. And so they've been experimenting on him, trying to do whatever. And it turns out that he's able to tap into a bestial side of his personality, leveraging that zombie DNA that's inside of him. And for a little while, he can go super ragey and impale dudes with his fists and knock people's heads off and stuff like that when he has that super mode, which is cool. Game is played from first-person perspective, just like the original Dying Light. And y'all know I'm not a big fan of first-person, but I think it works in Dying Light. I think it was a great time in the original. I think it works here as well. Walking up to zombies and punching them, kicking them, hitting them with weapons and stuff is, I think, pretty effective. And again, I didn't play this one for very long. I got through the tutorial, which was pretty extended, and I thought that was a really nice way to ramp things up. You escape from the facility, you get loose in the woods, and now you're in Europe. You're not in the Middle East anymore. And so you are in a foresty area. You're going to make your way down to town and start things up. So I haven't put a lot of time into it, but it seems solid, controls really well, looks really good. I like the idea of Kyle having this bestial side, which was, again, something that they touched on in the first game. And I'm looking forward to exploring more of it. I don't have much more to say at this time, but I did want the developers to know I did crack into it. I will have more to say on the next episode. And if you are looking for more Dying Light, this seems really solid. I'm enjoying it so far. And I look forward to coming back and saying a little bit more about it. So far, thumbs up. But again, really early days. I'll have more to say next time. Okay, if you listen to the show regularly and you caught last week's episode, you probably remember that I said Jeremiah, who was the guest last week, and I talked about a game, and I had messed up. I had gotten my dates confused when I was assembling the agenda, and I put a game on that was actually not approved to be talked about. It was still under embargo, and I was looking at the wrong information, got my wires crossed, whatever. And so we ended up talking about it for like a while. And then we got to the end and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Fuck, this is still under embargo. So I had to cut it out of last week's show. But I saved the clip because I thought it was a good discussion. And I will put that clip here now. The game is Windswept. This is about a duck and a turtle going on a Super Mario World style adventure. I'm not going to say much more about it now because we get into all the nuts and bolts here. I will drop this clip in here. Go ahead and listen to this, and then we'll pick up the rest of the show and wrap it up. All right, up next for me is Windswept. This one kind of came out of nowhere, and I didn't know anything about it. It must be getting buzz somewhere because a couple of my guys at Game Critics wanted to cover it as well, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, there's definitely some interest. That's always a good thing. This is a 2D pixel-based platformer. I believe the PR and the developers were kind of comparing it to some of the old classics like Super Mario World, like on Super Nintendo, or possibly even like Donkey Kong Country, something like that. Basically, you start the game as a duck, a little pixely duck, very cute, and the pixel art is adorable. It looks very pleasing, colorful, entertaining. It's nice pixel art. You start as a duck, and you can like jump and flap to go a little further. You can spin around like a ballerina to kind of whap people with your wings to attack them. And then pretty soon, like it's almost immediately, you pick up a friend, and your friend is a turtle. And the turtle can, do turtle stuff. He just like walks and does various things, which I'll get to in a second. So then you become a unit of two, and you choose whether the duck is in front, turtle in back. You hit a button, you can swap where the turtle takes the lead and the duck goes in back. And then you kind of like hop and bop your way through these 2D levels. Lots of trees, colorful graphics, lots of stars to collect, lots of stuff to collect, capital S stuff, which is fine. After you finish the level, you go to like a overworld map that looks very much like Super Mario World back in the day. And if you're not old enough to remember what that looks like, basically just kind of a Mario style map where you're looking at the whole world. You have these little nodes that you can kind of travel between. You click on one of them, go into it. Pretty straightforward, basic, which is fun. I was actually really looking forward to playing this one. I was kind of in the mood for something simple and approachable, pick up and play platforming kind of thing. And I think that in general, it nails what it wants to do. But I think I had a couple of issues with it. I don't know if you know, Jeremiah, but I am a stickler for a good tutorial. I know some people don't care. Some people have their feelings one way or the other. But for me, it's like I am extremely particular about tutorials. I feel like it kind of relates to how a developer communicates to their audience, or whether they choose to or not. The information that you get, learning about a game can happen in many different ways, and I really feel strongly that there's a good way to do a tutorial and a bad way to do a tutorial, and I feel like this one is a bad one. The thing is that it seems when you're just a duck, it's pretty straightforward. You jump, flap your wings to go further, and then you can whap your wings. That's like three things. It's not a problem. But as soon as you add the turtle, it got like exponentially more complicated. And the developers do a pretty terrible job of explaining what the new moves are and how they work. And so your moveset changes depending on which person is in the front. There's a button that gets added where you pick up your partner. There's a button where you attack. And like there's like I believe something goes to the shoulder button that you didn't have before. And so all of a sudden you've got like a dozen moves. And you really have to be very thoughtful and careful about what you're doing, and they don't tell you what moves you have or what purpose they serve or how you function with them. they give you a little hint here and there. But for example, one of the first tutorial messages, you're in a quote unquote bonus level that is timed. And if you don't make it at this, you don't clear the level by a certain time, you get kicked out and you can try again. Well, they put a tutorial at the bottom of this bonus level. So like you're figuring it out, you're trying to perform with speed, and you get to the bottom of the level. And like when you've got literally like 4 seconds left, it's like, hey, tutorial. And I'm like, it doesn't pause. It doesn't anything. It's just like, read it. And I'm like, I'm trying to read the message and then it's gone. Level's over. And I have to replay that level like 8 times before I can really understand what it's trying to tell me. And then I have to execute on it. And it's like, okay, bitch, no. Like, you need to like tell me those things in a more relaxed environment where I can take the information in and practice this to get it, show me a very simple scenario where it's like for this one, you had to be, I want to say it was like turtle first, duck second, jump up, do like a left trigger, and then the turtle like shoots forward like a hockey puck, but then he brings the duck behind him to get through small spaces or cross long gaps. And I'm like, okay, I can get that, but not in the 3 seconds that you flash the tutorial up on screen under time pressure when I've literally never played this game before. And there's a bunch of other moves they do that they just don't tutorialize. And so I can see places where it's like, oh, there's stars to collect which are above a pit, and I'm guessing that one of my moves will let me go down there and somehow bounce my way back up, but I don't know which move does that. Do I need to get it? Can I do it now? I don't know. And so I just felt like it got really, really complicated, like way past the I am intuiting a platformer stage into the I need to like go into, like I was hoping there was going to be like a codex in this game to tell me all the different moves, but there wasn't. And it's like I just got overwhelmed and it got very manually complicated, and I just got frustrated because I was missing stuff and I didn't know what to do, and they just kind of threw me into it. And I just don't think that is a great way to get your game started. It was cute. I liked the way it looked. It's a great idea. I was in the mood for a platformer, but it kind of strikes me as a classic example of like a developer who knows their game really well and doesn't bother explaining it, because I'm the developer. I spent 2 years of my life on this game. It's in my head. I know everything inside and out. Why don't you? Don't you know what's inside my head? Actually, no, I don't, sir. I don't know what's in your head, and they don't bother telling you. And I'm not the kind of player, I don't know about you, but I'm not the kind of player that likes to fiddle with controls and try different things to see what happens and to learn what moves. I mean, just fucking tell me. Like I am not that guy who wants to be that experimental anymore. So I ended up noping out of it pretty quickly. I feel like I only played it for a pretty brief time because the frustration level got really high, and I feel unnecessarily so. I feel like if the tutorial was better, I would have been more on board to learn the different things and to learn the finger gymnastics that would switch me between the modes and get the moves going. But man, I just like hit a wall. And it just kind of felt to me like the developers didn't give a shit whether I got it or not. And I do not like that feeling.
I mean, what's kind of wild in this is that I feel that you, and I'm looking at screenshots like while you're talking about it. What you're describing started out as like a really by the numbers, just kind of like fun platformer, and then suddenly you started describing stuff that I'm used to hearing in like a Kaizo Mario hack.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
When the turtle got involved, and so I'm assuming that I'm assuming that the people who made this game know that's what they're doing. I say that questioningly, of just like, do you get any sense that they are appealing to that type of audience? Like, I know there's like a couple different names for it, but like Kaizo style platformer. I
mean, it's interesting because when I got the PR materials and the way that the game was positioned to me made it sound much more approachable. And I mean, I think one of the hallmarks of the Mario series is that it is approachable. I mean, there are those, whack hard challenge levels after you beat the game or whatever, but until that point, they are really carefully curating your experience and walking you through things and making sure you're on board, Nintendo hallmark. And I feel like that aspect was absolutely lost here. So I have to feel like, well, I don't know. Maybe they don't realize, maybe they don't know, because I do encounter a lot of indie games where the developers have just really lost sight of what they've made and lost touch with how newcomers perceive their work. So maybe it's that case, or maybe they are appealing to something that is not accurately reflected in the PR. So I guess I'm not sure, but I definitely felt like I was getting the cold shoulder, don't really care if you're here or not vibe right away. And I don't stick around for that vibe.
don't be fooled by its cute charm. The journey home won't be an easy one. So there you go. I guess you at least get a hint here. I'm scrubbing through there. So this game isn't out. This game is not out yet. Like I see that there's a demo on Steam. So like maybe that's one thing that you're dealing with somebody who, they didn't go into early access in the way that like something like Hades did or had the luxury to do, of like a year worth of early access for people to go through that room that you were in.
Yeah.
And like report feedback. 'Cause really the way that you fix something like that, not just in a game, but even just in like a piece of software, is you have to watch users participate. You have to watch them attempt to solve a particular problem. And maybe they kind of already know the problem is there, because that tutorial seems to, like, that little bit of tutorial text really seems to show up at a specific point, not just in the game, but in like the specific scenario that they've outlined in the game.
Yeah.
But really, like, just pause it, man.
Yeah.
Pause it mid-air, and when I die, like, rewind it to... I say all this stuff is like if it's super easy to like engineer. I don't know. I'm looking at it. It's either made in Game Maker or Godot, I'm assuming. But like I'll give them the benefit of the doubt on this one, and just like maybe, as we say, maybe in the 6 months after the game has been released.
Yes.
They will have had the time to go like it goes out into the wild. They have they pop the champagne bottles, they get halfway through it, and then one tweet shows up and they're like, fuck. And it's Brad Galloway.
That's right. I would be the person to see that thing.
Yeah. I don't know, like I'm looking at this. Like I slid that demo into Steam. I want to go. I want to go check this game out. It's giving Grapple Dog vibes to me.
Yeah, it's in the same like vibes bucket. Like the tone of it, the colorfulness, the feel of it is definitely kind of like in the Grapple Dog bucket. I would say that for sure. But
I'm with you. Like we're mostly, after I talked about my Duck game, we diverge a little bit here, where I do like a little bit of input friction, like exploring. Like I feel like having to getting the opportunity to like learn, identify, learn, and like perfect some form of like system or mechanic is a large part of why video games are appealing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there are times where you're just like, man, just tell me what you want me to fucking do.
Yes, just tell me what moves I have, and I'm happy to experiment with them and try to find the perfect use case for those and apply them in different situations. But like if I don't even know that I have them, if I don't even know what level of complexity you're shooting for, because every game is different, every developer is different, and if you don't get a good footing with a game right out of the gate, like you don't know what's possible. So for example, I talked about Isla Frosty Glide on the last episode. And have you played that one by any chance?
I've not even heard. Hey, everybody, the experience of knowing Brad Galloway is pulling up your Switch and playing something, and then you see Brad come online, and it's like Brad Galloway is playing like Flip Flop's Magical Siesta, and you're like, the fuck is this, man? That's the experience of knowing Brad Galloway. So no, I have not heard of the game you're talking about.
All right, no worries. Well, you should you listen to the last episode and see if it's something that you like. Basically, it's like a short hike. Have you played a short hike?
Okay, now we can meet up here.
Okay, so it's kind of like a short hike, like not as good. But that game starts you off pretty rough, and you don't know what it wants you to do. Like you don't know, is this a game where they hide things and I need to find them? Is this a game where it's all about platform mastery? Is this a game where they just want you to have a good time and they're leading you through it easily? Like you don't know what you're in for, and the developers know, but they don't tell you. And so in that game, I got stuck like in the first level, and I believe everybody who ever plays this game gets stuck in the first level because the developers are wanting you to kind of poke at the corners and the seams in a way that the average player, I think, is not prepared for mentally, because it does not seem like that kind of game until they teach it to you. But they don't teach it to you. They apparently want you to get stuck for like an hour until you figure out, oh, I need to do this thing that didn't really ever occur to me because I didn't think it was that kind of a game. So that's kind of what this makes me feel like, is like, I don't know, is this a finger gymnastics game? Is this a platform timing game? Is this a fun times, good times game? Like, I don't really know. And I just got thrown into it and just really like hit a bunch of road bumps or, you know, brick walls and stuff really quickly. And I'm like, okay, I'm not here for this. So anyway.
Yeah, like glancing through their copy on Steam, they've got like a couple lines in there. Like one's like, hey, try things out. You'll be amazed at what you can get away with, like what you can do. So I think that maybe they've got a little bit of that like sense of discovery of like, try to figure out how these two work together.
Yeah.
To do that. And I guess that's fine. My expectation would be like, can I have the fundamentals though?
Yes, I agree. Fundamentals is where I'm at, and for me anyway, I don't feel like the fundamentals box was checked, and so I'm not willing to invest time and energy further, because it just takes too much. It asks too much of me, and I guess in this phase of my life, I'm just not really willing to go there for a game which I'm not all in on yet. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the first 5 minutes of the game. I'm not going to devote an hour to figuring out the fucking mechanics of it.
Windswept in this economy, like. The help isn't even here this week. I don't have time to learn platforming mechanics.
Exactly right. I could not have said it better myself. All right, folks, that is Windswept. Okay, that was last week's discussion of Windswept. Hope you guys liked that. The embargo drops literally today, so I think we're okay to publish this, and the game comes out tomorrow. I mentioned a few minutes ago that Q4 has been pretty bananas, and absolutely has been bananas. We've got a lot of games that need to be covered at Game Critics by the staff. And just for me personally, I've got a lot of stuff that's still on my agenda, trying to space it out and get to all of it without losing my mind. Just to give you a quick heads up about what I'll be covering in the next 2 weeks. I've got Luminous Arise. Was gonna cover Where Winds Meet, but then I had a problem with the code. I'm trying to work with PR to get that sorted out, but that one is on my agenda as well. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, Deathless, which is a new card battling game, I think. Instruments of Destruction, which looks like a fun kind of mess around, destroy stuff game. Ultimate Zombie Defense, which I was supposed to get to a while ago, and I keep kicking the can on that one. Silly Polly Beast, Blood West, Full Metal Schoolgirl, a couple other things as well I need to circle back to. Little Nightmares 3, Despelote. The PR was gracious enough to send a code at this late date. I'm curious to hear about that one. I think I'm going to probably get into Golden Idol Investigations, and there's probably a couple more that I'm forgetting. So there's a lot on the slate. I'll try to get to all these as soon as I can, and more are coming in every day. I know everybody's trying to get something in before the end of the year, GOTY time. So we'll see what I can get to. And honestly, there's still a couple things that I really need to circle back to. I think one thing that I'm really curious about coming back to is probably the Stone of Madness. This is one that came out earlier in the year, and I was really fascinated by the concept by a bunch of people who are trapped in a sanitarium, and so you have to kind of do stealth missions, kind of like semi-tactics, but also kind of like stealthy missions in this large area where you kind of go through different paths and come back to the same places over and over. And it was just a really great idea. And I believe it's from the same people as Blasphemous, who I really respect. But it just needed work, man. It was rough. It was unbalanced. There were problems. And I know the team's been working on it. I heard it's gotten a couple of pretty significant patches. So I just put it on pause. And I really want to get back to that one before the end of the year to see what's up with that. I really want to give it a full chance, much chance as possible. The other big one that I really need to get back to is Citizen Sleeper 2. I love Citizen Sleeper 1. I believe I gave it a perfect score, if memory serves, and it was my game of the year when it came out. And I was really, really excited for Citizen Sleeper 2. Unfortunately, I had a lot of technical problems with it on the PlayStation. I had a couple of design problems, but more than that, I had a couple of technical problems. I had a couple events that didn't trigger correctly. I got stuck at one point, and at the time I was in communications with the developer Gareth. Is it Damien Gareth Martin, or is it Martin? Shit, it's like three first names. It's Gareth Damien Martin, I believe. Is that right? I'm sorry. I apologize. I haven't thought about that person's name in a while, and I think I'm getting it wrong. But I was in communications with them at the time, and I was sending them like bug lists, and they were working on it. And, I mean, very, very pleasant interactions, and I'm sure they're a wonderful person. Don't know them personally, but through email it was fine. And I just really got really frustrated. I think I tried to play through Citizen Sleeper at least 2 times, if not 3 times, and I ended up tapping out because I just had too many problems with it on PlayStation. So I definitely want to come back to that. I feel like that is something I need to finish and need to give that a fair shake. I feel like if it's running properly, it'll probably be ranking on my top 10 for sure. That's kind of a shoe-in there. So anyway, I'm sure there's something else I'm not remembering, but I've got my work cut out for me before the end of the year, and we will see how that goes. If you've got a game that you think deserves mention as one of the year's best, or you think I should take a look at it, maybe you haven't heard me talk about it on the show, or maybe you think you want to bring it to my attention somehow, please drop me a line, and there's still time to work in a couple more. And if you, the listeners, think that after knowing me and knowing the show, there's something that I should look at, you think there's something tailor-made for me, please let me know. I would be happy to prioritize those things that you think might be a good fit for me. Oh, right. I think that's going to do it for this episode. Let me take a quick look at the agenda. Yep, that is it. I think we are good. All right, folks. Game portion of the show is officially done, but like many folks, I do spend a few minutes a week in front of screens that don't have menus or life bars. That's right. It is time for the TV and movie roundup. Gotta say, it was kind of a sad week because the wife and I have a couple of like emotional support shows that we watch when we're feeling down, or when we really need a laugh or something, or when we want to feel good. And one of those is the Great British Bake Off. I know that's the emotional support show for like most of humanity right now. And appropriately so. It's a great show. I love it very much. We just finished the final episode, and so we've got nothing to watch now. I believe we watched every episode of Bake Off that's available, and yeah, it's going to be tough to not have that one. It's keeping society together right now. But it was a great season. Lots of fun contestants. The person who won, which I will not spoil, is the person that we felt like really deserved to win. That was great. I love when it feels like they've earned it, and not when it's like a kind of surprise jag at the very end. So I thought it was a good, satisfying ending, and it was a good season. So shout out to Bake Off. We also finished Baroness von Sketch. I've talked about this before. I believe it's available on the Out app, and I think it's free. It's the LGBTQ app. And Baroness von Sketch is an all-female comedy troupe from Canada, and they do like really, really funny sketch comedy. Very insightful, very female-forward, a lot of just really over-the-top funny stuff, and very observant about women and society and how they are treated and how they want to be treated. And it's good stuff. It's really smart, and it's really adept at what it does. And we just watched the last episode last night, and I'm really sad there's nothing left. We looked into it, and apparently the troupe felt like they had done all the sketches they wanted to do, and the show had accomplished its goals of getting themselves out there and making fun of things in their particular way. And they just felt like it was time to wrap it up. They did, I think, 5 seasons total, and it was great stuff. If you really want some female forward comedy that's really well done, I think Baroness von Sketch is great, and you can get it on the Out app, I believe, for free. We also watched the movie It with Pennywise the Clown. I think we talked about this. I think I talked about this last week. I can't remember. The wife has never seen the original It, so we watched that one with Tim Curry from, I think it's 1990. Really cheesy in sections, and the hair is like terribad. But Tim Curry's great, and I think the film, even though it has like the worst ending ever, is still just like a great movie all the way through. Very creepy, very spooky. And again, Tim Curry does a great job. Really iconic performance there. So after that, the wife wanted to see more, so we watched It, the new ones from 2020 something, with who plays Pennywise? Is it Alexander Skarsgård? No, am I wrong? That's wrong. That sounds wrong. I don't know who it is. It doesn't matter. But they have a new actor for It. They kind of redid the look of Pennywise the Clown, and they just revamped the whole thing, broke it into 2 parts, part 1 and part 2. Part 1 features the young age of the kids, and then part 2 is when the kids grow up as they face off against Pennywise. I think probably most people probably know this, but just in case, the original movie had kids and grown-ups mixed together, and they did flashbacks. This one splits them up. So the first one is about kids, second one's about grown-ups, although there's a lot of flashbacks in part 2. And I gotta say, Part 1 was okay. It was fine. The wife and I both didn't care for some of the script changes they made. It kind of changed the slant of some of the characters, and we were like, not really sure why they're doing that, and it doesn't really quite work. It also had a little bit of an edge that we felt was kind of like a little bit nasty to it. I mean, it's obviously a horror movie. You got to have some nastiness in it, but it just had a little bit of a tinge to it. They were like, some of this is gruesome where it doesn't need to be, or it doesn't really serve the movie that well. So, I mean, it was okay. It was fine. It was fine. And then we watched Part 2, and oh my God, it was terrible. It was boring. It was way too long. Some of the actors they picked we thought were not good fits. They had some really poor performances happening. And it was weird because we had just watched the first one, which was about childhood, and so we're watching the grown-up era, but they did so many cuts and so many flashbacks. They had a lot of like really weird AI faces because I guess the actors had aged, the child actors had aged so much in the intervening time between part 1 and part 2 that they had to like AI their faces, and it looked distracting and very strange and just kind of gross. Not a big fan of that at all. And it just was like they assumed like you didn't see part 1 because there was so much of part 1 and part 2 that I'm like, it just felt like recapping a lot of stuff that we didn't really need to recap. And I just did not care for it. I think it was like 3 hours long, and God's honest truth, we watched about half of it. We're like, oh my God, this is really boring. Are you bored? I'm bored. Are you bored? I'm also bored. And so we ended up fast forwarding all the way until the end because we just wanted to see how it ended because the first was so terrible when it came to the ending. We wanted to see what they did. And I will say that I feel like they ended, I mean, the ending sequence in Part 2, okay, granted, was better than the original but like that's such a low bar. Just so boring. We fast forwarded through at least an hour of it because we just didn't even want to watch it. It was so dull, and we watched the ending, and then we're like, okay, cool, that was a thing we wasted time on, whatever. So Part 2, phenomenally bad, really bad. Part 1, that was okay, but honestly I think the original from the 90s is still the best one, even though the ending sucks ass. So the only other thing I'm going to mention is that Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein is now available on Netflix. I did not realize it was a Netflix joint, so shout out to Mike Susky for letting me know about that. He is also a fellow Guillermo appreciator. Dude is brilliant. That rendition of Frankenstein, it was a little bit long, I will say. I think that was also like 2.5 hours long. Could have been trimmed a little bit, but honestly, there wasn't much fat to it. And it was just a great version. Spent a lot of time on Dr. Frankenstein and what he was about and his motivations. The monster was quite cool, and we got to see his side of things. And there was a couple CG sequences that were a little bit sketchy. I think the wolves at one point didn't look that great, and that was kind of distracting. But other than that, it was really great. A lot of like wonderful set design, a lot of moody lighting. It had a very Guillermo del Toro feel to it. Great stuff. We really enjoyed it a lot. And even though it was a little bit long, we still thought it was great and watched all the way through. And it was just really a very, very nice retelling. Is it my favorite Frankenstein movie? It might be. It very might be. Is it my favorite Guillermo del Toro movie? No. I think that's probably Pacific Rim, because Pacific Rim is the ultimate shit. I'll watch that movie anytime, anywhere, as many times as it takes. That's my favorite, and I know it's kind of an outlier for him, but god damn it, that movie kicks so much ass. But also Frankenstein was great. We loved it. It's certainly a good one. And in fact, it inspired us to go back and watch all of his other films. And to be frank, I think we've seen almost all of them. I think we're only missing Crimson Peak, and I feel like maybe like one more, but we've seen basically everything the guy's done. We're big fans. So Frankenstein is great. If you have Netflix, check it out for sure. Definitely a big thumbs up. Oscar Isaac in it is great. The actor who plays Frankenstein is great. The whole thing is just great. Great. All right, folks, that is a show. Before the closing music, we'd love for you to leave reviews, share the show on social media, but most important of all, please recommend it to your friends, because nothing beats word of mouth. As always, we'd love to get your questions and comments. You can email me up at sovidegamespodcast@gmail.com. You can also reach me on social media. I'm on Instagram and Blue Sky. It's my name, BradGallaway, all A's, no O's. You can also hit me up in the Video Games Discord, which is totally free of charge. Just drop me a line, and we will get you on board to continue the conversation. And as I said earlier, I'm going to skip the Patreon stuff. If you have an extra dollar, or if you just want to help out in some way, please donate to your local food bank, your local food pantry, your local food charity. A lot of people are going hungry in America right now, which is absolutely not okay. So I'm not going to ask for money. Those folks need money more than I do. So please donate to them. Bring some canned food. Call. Find out what your local food bank needs. Donate something, please. That would be amazing. And help out your fellow man, because that's really what we should be about. And I think that's it. Folks. That's going to do it for episode 461. Thank you again for joining me here on the So Video Games podcast. And I'll see you next week.